Welcome back to the series on the lore of murder drones. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, go check it out first. Link is down in the description because everything that we have covered there is going to matter when we go through the rest of these episodes. Last time we went through everything that happened before the show started, the core collapsing, the cabin fever labs, Nori and Yiva, the disassembly drones arriving on Copper 9, all of it. Now, we're going to get into episode 1, the pilot episode, and this is where the story actually kicks off, so let's get into it. The episode opens us with a class presentation inside the bunker, where basically we are hearing about the history of Copper 9, and it's basically an oversimplified version of everything that we've covered, and it's being done by a teenage worker drone named Uzi Dorman. And Uzi Dorman, instead of doing her actual homework assignment, which was a word problem on buying watermelons, she basically turned this into a presentation of her homemade railgun that she built herself, and she points at the entire class. Now, while explaining to her teacher and everything, her teacher gives her 2 points for having, repressed emotional baggage. What happens is, her railgun, misfires kind of and blows up half the class. That's fun. Now we get into, while all this is happening, there are a few other students that we get introduced to. There's Lizzie, who's pretty much a popular girl of the entire school and colony, and is not exactly Uzi's biggest fan. There's also a classmate named Doll who doesn't really say that much, but is quietly watching everything. We'll be getting more into both of them in future episodes. But for now, just know that they are there. After the explosion, Uzi ends up in the medical bay of the bunker, and a classmate named Fad comes to check in on her. And he's generally one of the only people in the colony who actually is decent and nice to her, and Uzi wastes no time telling him of her plan of she's going to sneak out tonight and go to the disassembly drone corpse spiral and find the last missing component that she needs to finish her railgun and actually make it work. Fad then points out that her dad literally built the 3 doors specifically so they wouldn't have to do things what Uzi's saying, which is go outside and kill the disassembly drones. Uzi then jams the broken railgun into his cheek and tells him, hey, she doesn't want any more feedback of her repression today. She storms off, and it comes back straight to tell him she's not actually mad at him, she's just generally hormonal, and, leaves again. It is the middle of the night. Uzi wakes up, slaps her visor alarm off, grabs her railgun, and heads out. To get through the blast doors, she needs her dad's keycard, so she sneaks off and steals it. Except, she walks straight into Khan on the way out. Now, Khan Dorman is the leader of the bunker, of the worker defense force, and the man who built every single one of these doors to protect the colony. Doors are his entire personality. He is genuinely, deeply, passionately obsessed with them. Uzi has to think fast. She tells him she just wants to go outside to examine door 1 for a school project, and she thinks about joining the WDF one day. Khan completely buys it, and he's also very excited that she genuinely has an interest in doors, and he actually announces this to the rest of the WDF. Guys, my daughter is genuinely into doors. Everyone cheers, the blast door swings open, and blows everyone's card game everywhere, and someone loses their flush. Poor man. But before she goes, Khan hands her a wrench, says he wants her to have it. It's the one that he used on his first door prototype, and also the wrench that he used to euthanize Nori, Uzi's mother, after the disassembly drones hit her with her nanite acid. Just like that, in the same breath as being excited about doors, Uzi just says, neat, therapy's fun, and walks outside. And that's how Uzi finds out what truly happened to her mother, and also what her dad did to her mother to euthanize her. Which, hey, Khan, good idea to euthanize your wife. Uzi steps outside the frozen wasteland of Copper 9 for the first time. In the middle of the night, it is freezing, and the whole planet just genuinely looks like a graveyard. She takes a breath and heads towards the corpse spiral. She gets there, climbs it, and finds the component she needs. Simple enough, except before she can get back down, a disassembly drone shows up. And this disassembly drone immediately fights her, stabs her in her hand with the nanite acid, and then throws her against the wall. Uzi then, actually figuring out how to use pirated anime and their moves, uses her railgun to blow the disassembly drone's head completely off. And then it grows back, and when this disassembly drone reboots, its optical sensors are completely fried. It cannot tell Uzi apart from a disassembly drone, and a worker drone. So the disassembly drone just reads it as a new recruit, and so instead of attacking again, he just cheerfully introduces himself, saying that his name is Serial Designation N and he's kind of the squad leader, and then immediately walks it back, says everyone's actually tells him he's useless and terrible and he wasn't supposed to say that part out loud. But he's sure it'll sort itself out. Uzi very quickly figures out that he has no idea who she is and plays along with it. Then Serial Designation N notices Uzi's hand, still being injured from the nanite acid, and tells her disassembly drone's saliva can neutralize it. Otherwise, he'll be constantly disassembling himself. Uzi looks at him and asks, "What do you mean by our saliva?" And then she puts her hand in his mouth, and they agree to immediately never speak of this ever again, and then takes her back to the landing pod that they arrived at and starts talking openly. He explains how the disassembly drones need to drink worker drones' oil to survive, otherwise they'll overheat and die. He also manages that he has other squad mates. There's V, who he talks about like she's the greatest thing he's ever seen. And he talks about how he secretly has a crush on V, but V doesn't really reciprocate that back in these flashbacks that we see. Then there's Jay, who's his boss and clearly does not like Ed and wants to find any reason to kill Ed. The way he talks about V versus Jay is actually pretty funny. And then Uzi notices something. She looks around the landing pod and realizes it's not a landing pod, it's a fully functioning spaceship. It just got damaged when they crash landed. If the ship could be repaired, the worker drones could eventually leave Copper 9 entirely. That's a real way out. That completely changes everything that she thought was possible. She also asked N what he thinks about Jason Jensen going to do once every single worker drone is dead. N doesn't really have a good answer. He just says he wants to be useful and follow the rules. He just wants to be, useful. Uzi tells him the company will just throw them out the moment the job is finished, same way they treated the worker drones, and then N kind of goes quiet. Then V and J come back from a hunting trip and everything falls apart. And this is where Uzi realizes that she needs to skedaddle as far as she can before she gets killed. Jay then walks over to N, who is still visibly glitching, and slaps him back into a functioning disassembly drone. Suddenly, N remembers everything. He realizes Uzi is a worker drone, and he also realizes that she shot him with a railgun and his head fell apart. Then he realized he spent the last several minutes giving her a full tour of the spaceship. So, to try to cover for his mistake, he explains to Jay and V he needs to go, deal with something. And V and Jay are not buying it, so N goes on a full chase trying to chase down Uzi. Uzi, while running away, manages to get back into the colony and open the door. But while she was closing the door, N, doing this on purpose, uses his tail to, keep the key card inside the door, thus allowing the doors to all open all of a sudden, thus allowing him to do a slaughter of the WDF if he can get in. The whole colony's door is wide open. While this is happening, N begins to kill every single worker drone that he sees on site by either, straight up ripping them apart or shooting them. And then, while Uzi's running away, she runs into Khan, and Khan realizes the mistake that his daughter just made. N catches up, pins Uzi into the wall right in front of her dad, and Uzi's railgun drops at Khan's feet. Uzi quickly tells her father to pick it up and shoot, but Khan backs away slowly and closes the back door and closes the blast doors between them. He leaves his own daughter to die on the other side. And Jay and V arrive right at that moment, and Jay actually compliments N for once, saying she's amazed that he did something not useless for once. And V says she was trying to get past through these doors for months, and he actually did something useful. Now during this, we see that Uzi and N kind of had this heart-to-heart conversation, and then we see that N has a conversation with Jay about, hey, what happens when we're done killing all the worker drones? What happens when the company has no purpose for us? And then Jay responds, you're questioning what the company is going to do? Now I have a reason to kill you. And she immediately kills N. And then she goes away to kill the rest of the worker drones. And while being in that functioning state, has a conversation with Uzi. And Uzi, having a little bit of empathy, uses the wrench that she got from her dad to save him. And with that, they decide to team up. And there is a fight that's about to happen. Uzi goes straight for Jay, while leaving N to go through V. Jay gets completely obliterated by, Uzi's railgun after a tough fight, and V gets completely disgusted and weirded out by N, but later gets tied up, and they all are in the final scene outside because Uzi puts herself in a self-imposed exile for being the reason why the disassembly drones got in. So we end the episode off with Uzi having a new mission. No longer to kill the disassembly drones, but to kill all humans. And while we see this, a little tiny symbol pops up on the top of her face. This symbol being the symbol of the absolute solver activating inside of her. So that ends off this episode. There are some hidden details, if you want to know, that can help us throughout the rest of these episodes. From the end of the episode, we see the solver symbol pull up in Uzi's visor twice in this episode. And that symbol will be important when she eventually unlocks her solver powers that her mother once had. So that's the pilot. Uzi snuck out of her colony at 3 a.m. in the morning, found what she needed, ran into some disassembly drones who thought she was a new recruit, accidentally led them back through the doors, and basically, helped take down Jay and capture V. Got left behind by her own dad, banished herself all in one night. And now she's on a frozen planet with N and a captive V with a plan to go to Earth to kill all the humans. Things are only going to get more complicated from here. On the next video, we're going to be covering episode 2, Heartbeat, where the lore is going to open up and show us a lot of stuff, especially some flashbacks, and maybe who our true villain of this story is going to be. Remember folks, subscribe so you don't miss that video, drop a comment with your thoughts. I will all see you on the next video.